Hi, this is Kelley from ABQ Sewing Studio in Strathroy, and today I would like to show you the 1/4 inch quilting foot. Now it's called a quilting foot, but it's a whole lot more than that. There's a lot of things on this foot that you can use it for other than quilting. So this is the foot. Now it is a single hole foot, so you do need to use this in center needle position in straight stitch only. You certainly can't zigzag with this foot. But it's got some markings, and I hope these are going to show up on camera. It's got some markings along the side here. So with this, if I'm sewing my 1/4 inch seam allowance, I run up against the edge of the toe right here, and I get an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance. But these markings also tell me where are some pivot points. So if I sew with my fabric going up to this mark right here, that gives me an accurate 1/4 inch where I can pivot on the corner. But not only that, on the other side, there's an 1/8 inch toe. So if I sew with my fabric up against this side of the toe right here, I have an accurate 1/8 inch, which is excellent for things. Okay, so let me just show you what I mean there. So this is some top stitching that is done on a collar, and you want to be even all the way through, the same distance all the way, and that's where this toe would come in very handy, keeping you exactly even. But on this side of the toe, it also has markings that give me pivot points. So if I pivot at this mark right here, I'm exactly an 1/8 inch away, so I would get an accurate 1/8 inch corner. If I wanted to get a 1/4, I've got the marking there. And then of course these second lines, that tells me exactly where my needle is. So there's a lot of aids on this foot that aren't necessarily known about. Okay, so on top of that, I've got my 1/4, I have my 1/8. If I use this edge of the foot and run my fabric up against this part of it right here, that gives me a 3/8 seam allowance. So it's a really super handy foot for quilting or for garment sewing. So here I am now, I've put the foot on, I've got my fabric lined up against the edge of my toe here, and I'm just sewing. This is for the 1/8 inch, and I'm just sewing down, and I'm looking over here, watching where I'm going into the foot. And I've got myself on kind of slow because I don't want to miss that corner. You don't want to go super fast. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm watching until I get to that little divot right there. And I might just do just a couple of single stitches to get me there. And then I can pivot. Sorry. And I'm right on line. Okay, and now I'm going to show you the 1/4, where I'm lining it up against this edge right here. Still going slow. And now I'm looking for that little divot right there. I want to line up when I get there. And I'm there. So now I can pivot. And again, a perfect little corner. Okay, so now I'm lining up against the outside of my foot to give myself a 3/8 seam allowance. And I find a lot of times patterns, especially knits, are calling for a 3/8 seam allowance now. So it's another really handy foot to have there. So I just line up against the edge and I've got myself an accurate 3/8 seam allowance. And of course with garment sewing, you really need to be accurate with your seam allowance or the garment doesn't fit when you're done. So there we have it. That, although it is called a 1/4 inch quilting foot, has so much more in it than just for quilters.